hello and welcome to episode 378 of the Plain Talking UK podcast. I'm Neville Bounds, and it's going to be a slightly different show this evening because Matt is away and not available. So it's left up to me and to Carlos to look after the shop tonight. How are you doing, Carlos?
Well, Nev, I'm here. That's the main thing. I am, in the studio on my own this evening. Yes, no Matt here. There's no one next to me. There's no one here. No cats, no dogs, no anyone here at all. And we just about managed to get things rocking and rolling this evening for the show. So, I'm here on my own. Everything's sounding okay, I hope, on the YouTube stream this evening. Hope the picture's good. And so how are things with you, Nev? I mean, obviously we had a busy weekend last weekend, didn't we?
We did, yes. We had an excellent weekend on Saturday, didn't we? Over at the Old Buckenham Airshow, which was really, really good. And we're going to be playing out some footage and a couple of interviews from that as well this week. So looking forward to that very much. Armando is on holiday in Florida with the family today, so he's not on the show either. However, we have got the super sub, and that's in the form of Andy. Hi, Andy. How you doing?
Hello, everybody. Yeah, I'm great, thanks. Matt got in touch with me and said we've gone through every other list we could find. We're down to the W's now, so will you do it this week? I said, yeah, all right, mate, no problem.
What a compliment. So what have you been up to, Andy? Much flying going on in your world at the moment?
Well, at the moment, I'm part-time due to, of course, the wonderful COVID pandemic. But when I have been flying, it's been quite busy. So I only fly a few days a month at the moment, and I do another job at work as well. So, yeah, it's been nice to go out flying. I've had some nice trips out to Greece and Palma and places like that.
Have you been to my second home at all yet?
No, I haven't been to Malta recently, no. We only do one flight a day, and it's always on earlies, and I don't like earlies.
Oh, that's a shame. Well, it's good to have you on, Andy. Nice to see you back, and
pleasure to be here again.
Good. So we've got loads of bits and pieces to get through on the show this week, as always. Going to say a special mention to everyone who's joined us in the world of YouTube this evening. Going to have a quick run through the list here of everyone who's joined us. Let's have a look and see. Richard Adams, hello to you, Richard. GB's Model Zone, hello to you. Jenny, the lovely Jenny in Rome, has joined us as well. We've got Mazus Karim, hello to you, Mazus, hope you're well. Tanya, hello to you, Tanya W, also joining us in there from across the pond. John Jester, obviously we've got to have John in the chat room to keep us on class with all the answers that we give, because he will point out we are wrong. Andy Wilson, hello to you, Andy. And our main man Micah as well, wielding the blue spanner of death. Hello to you, Micah.
It's Micah's birthday today as well.
It's Micah's birthday. Oh yes, it's Micah's birthday.
So happy birthday, Micah. Hope you're having
birthday.
a great day so far.
Yeah, happy birthday.
21 again. Well done, Micah. Hopefully he'll send us a piece of birthday cake through the post each. That'd be nice. Captain Crew, actually send it through FedEx because they'd get it here within 24 hours. Captain Cruz, hello to you. Richard Adams as well, and to everyone who's joined us on the show tonight. Nice to see you all here. Don't forget, if you are watching us or listening to us, I should say, through the realms of the audio show, don't forget, if you want to join in the chat room fun, to take yourselves over to YouTube and click on the subscribe button and the bell icon, which is right next door to it, to be notified when we are live and beaming the new episode through YouTube live. So we'd love to have you with the chat room with us, with all the fun. So, we've got lots of news to get through, guys. So without further ado, we're going to hit with some commercial news. So if everyone is ready...
Yeah, off we go.
Yeah.
Let's go. So, kicking off this week's first news story, this one comes to us from Av Harold, youtube.com, twitter.com, flightradar24, aviationpal.com, Wikipedia and Navigraph, to say but a few. So this one, viral video shows Trig MG Intra-Asia Airlines unstabilized approach. So try MG Intra-Asia Airlines Boeing 737-300 freighter, registration Papa Kilo Yankee Golf Whiskey, performing flight GM 515 from Kolkata in India to Paro, Bhutan, was on approach to Paro's runway 33 when the crew received a bank angle warning, as well as a GPWS sink rate pull up warning. Should have downloaded them really, shouldn't I? But continued the approach, resulting in a hard touchdown. According to UNICEF, the aircraft was carrying Moderna vaccines to Bhutan that were donated to Bhutan within the COVID initiative. The aircraft remained on the ground in Paro for around 16 hours, then departed for the next sector to Bangkok, Thailand. It's unclear where the video surfaced first online, but pilot and Flyer magazine columnist Matt Dearden posted 30s of the videos, or 30 seconds of the video, on Twitter, where it gained over 250,000 views. So hopefully we've got the video to play for you, and we're going to have a look at this.
Okay, you turn left now. Turn left, go to this red hill. Yes. Turn left, turn left in this side. This hill. Go down.
It's definitely a Dash 300.
Go down, get in, turn more. Go down now. Little more. Yeah. Little more. Yeah, more, so that you can come little more there.
Is this guy being trained?
It does look like a training flight.
Turn right. Okay. Turn right. You see the runway?
And he's on his phone?
Turn
No?
right. That way you will opposite. Okay. Good. Okay. Yeah, be careful. Don't worry.
You can see he's using the rudder as well, with the slip ball underneath the ADI, which is a bit of a no-no in normal operations.
This is not a normal operation.
Words you don't want to really hear. Make an approach. Slightly off-centre there, I will say. Oof.
Yeah, it didn't bother the flare ray, did it?
No. Oh, I'm glad they all enjoyed it anyway.
Oh dear.
It's horrendous to watch.
Well, so Andy, give us your take on all of that.
My professional opinion.
Yes, please.
It looked like it was a training flight of some sorts, because I don't know who's filming that, but you can clearly see a hand coming in and guiding them, trying to guide them around the corner. Now, Paro is one of the most difficult approaches on the planet, so you've got to give them a little bit of leeway there. But as soon as the aircraft started shouting bank angle, in my opinion, that was the point to throw it away, because we saw it went from bank angle, and as I said, you could see that they were using rudder. If you looked, I mean, the video was very grainy. Underneath the attitude indicator, there's a little spirit level, and the ball was swinging left to right. So the captain was using the rudder to try and get himself lined up, and it just wasn't working at all. So I'd have probably abandoned that quite a bit further back, but these guys just pressed on. And you can see, literally, as they cross the threshold, half the airplane isn't even on the runway. And then that landing, well, that was there was no flare there. Have you guys seen the video from outside? Because there is a video taken from the ground, and it's just as scary.
I haven't seen it, but I can only imagine what that looks like.
Yeah, but that should have been abandoned long before they got anywhere near the runway.
A couple of other initial observations. The fella in the right-hand seat, which we assume was the captain, because he had 4 bars on his shoulder, filming with a phone. Don't think that's part of the standard operation procedures.
Yeah, he could be a captain checked out in the right-hand seat as well, operating as a first officer in that instance, which he probably was, or he could have been another trainer as well. It could have purely been because this was a flight carrying vaccines. These guys may never actually fly in here normally, so the airline might have decided to send 3 captains in there for experience levels and judgment. So that might be one reason. Yeah, but he just sat there on his phone. He wasn't even covering the controls either. which as an airline pilot or any form of two crew aircraft, when you're close to the ground, you need to be both pilots covering the controls in case of incapacitation of the pilot flying, so that you can quickly take over. So yeah.
This is a very high altitude airport, isn't it, as well, of course? So is that going to have an effect on the approach speed as well, for example, because it's well over 7,000 feet?
Yep. So that is going to increase your approach speed. Of course, the air is less dense up there, so you need to be flying faster to maintain lift. That will make a big difference as well. Yeah. Again, I don't know exactly what speeds they were flying there. It looked pretty sporty, I've got to admit.
Also, there's an awful lot of chat going on, isn't there? I mean, what about this sterile cockpit business below 10,000 feet and those sorts of procedures that you hear about with other people?
Well, for a training flight, it's expected to hear quite a bit of chatter at those points, because the guys doing the training are trying to impart their knowledge on, look for this, look for that. Here's the point where you should be turning, stuff like that, which of course you can't do if you're completely silent. You can talk about it in the briefing room 2-3 hours beforehand, but it's quite normal in a training environment to talk through an approach like that.
Yeah, gotcha. Well, I mean, presumably the aircraft was usable again, but they may have needed a heavy landing inspection possibly after that.
Yeah, that was quite a heavy smack. I think I saw on the AVHOD it was over 1,000 feet per minute, so that's definitely classed as a heavy landing.
Yeah.
Pop up this graphic here on the screen. You can
here
see
we
a playback of the flight itself.
Yeah, so it was going down at nearly 2,000 feet per minute on the approach. Again, that is well outside of stable criteria. Bin the approach, go around, try again.
And stable criteria is what, 750, 800 usually? Something like that?
Yeah, it used to be a set figure, but now it's just to maintain the required path. But around 1,000 feet per minute above that, you start to get a bit twitchy about it.
Gosh.
So Nev, you've got the next story, and it's all about this ridiculous traffic light system that we've got on here. But it is from one of our very good friends of the show.
I can't keep up. I really can't keep up with it. It's horrific. But Michelle at Turning Left for Less does a very nice job of this, and she actually makes it all a bit more manageable for everybody about where you can go and what the rules are and all the rest of it. So Michelle's done a very good job of listing out all the updates to the green and amber countries from the UK, along with restrictions and useful information. She says after rather bizarre late night announcements on the traffic light changes, she's had time to investigate which countries we can now visit. So the countries that have gone from amber to green are Austria, Germany, Latvia, Norway, Romania, Slovakia and Slovenia. And the countries that have gone from red to amber are the United Arab Emirates. In fact, Abu Dhabi and Dubai have different restrictions to enter from the UK, Qatar, Bahrain and India. And she goes further on her blog, but it's important to note that these amber and green statuses are just the status for the countries for inbound passengers to the UK. Interesting, not all of these countries accept individuals coming from the UK, even if they are vaccinated. Elsewhere in the world, global hubs Dubai and Abu Dhabi are bracing themselves for a surge in traffic as UAE's suspensions of passenger flights from Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka and India are lifted as of the 5th of August. The timing coincides with the UK's upgrade of UAE and India from red to amber status, further increasing traffic through these global hubs. And just to let you know that the complexity here, the UK amber protocols are as follows. They're still in place for the amber list, and a PCR test must be complete 3 days before travelling to the UK. And additional tests need to be taken on or before day 2 and another on day 8, all at the passenger's expense. And a 10-day quarantine will need to be completed either at home, at a friend's or hotel of your choosing. You do not need to quarantine or take a day 8 test if you are fully vaccinated in the UK or under the UK vaccine programme overseas. If you're under 18 on the day you arrive and a resident of the UK or in a country with a vaccination programme approved by the UK or part of a UK approved vaccination trial. Arrivals in the above criteria still need to take a PCR test on day 2 and you must have had your final dose of the vaccine at least 14 whole days before arriving in the UK. If you're travelling to England for less than 10 days, you will need to quarantine for the whole of your stay. You couldn't make it up, could you? As I say, I can't. I just cannot keep up with it. In fact, today I've just had to fill out a form because I'm off to Dublin on Monday for a couple of days with work, and just to double check and triple check again that I've ticked all the boxes. I mean, actually, it's not too bad because all you've got to do is fill out a passenger locator form, and you don't need to do anything when you come back to the UK from Ireland. So that's good. But Andy, you've been doing some flight booking recently, trying to navigate this nightmare that we've got. How did you get on?
I was trying to talk to British Airways yesterday. It took 24 phone calls over a period of 5 hours before I got through to someone. Then I was on hold for an hour and a half before I actually spoke to anyone. And then it took another 40 minutes of bartering to get the price that I wanted. So it's causing mass chaos for airlines. And it's very difficult because everybody, I went on Twitter and you could see the absolute tirade of abuse for BA. Everybody's had to cut back really, really far to ensure that the companies survive. But now we're getting sudden ramp ups. I mean, the big problem yesterday was Mexico going to the red list, and the amount of people who are either planned to go on holiday to Mexico or are currently there, desperately trying to get back. And BA is one of the big UK airlines that flies there. That caused a massive issue. And of course, because BA have scaled back so far, and with all these changes, suddenly so many people need to speak to them, it just causes utter chaos. And it's the big problem we've got because the government keep changing their mind every month or 3 weeks that they meet to discuss which countries are going to green or going to amber or going to be put on the red list. It's just causing utter chaos in the industry.
I think the other problem is, of course, it's not going to get better quickly, is it? Because you've got situations where the rules are changing, as you say, or being reviewed at least every 3 weeks. And I think it is bad that you get a situation where you can go out somewhere and it's on an amber list, and whilst you're there, it turns to a red list. I think if you're going out with one set of rules, that set of rules should apply for the whole of your journey. And I think changing the game halfway through is pretty unfair and unreasonable on those folks. Now, I know that they are, you go on holiday knowing that this could happen, but I still think that it's just a bit much, frankly.
I completely agree. And it's just the disparity between every country's requirements as well. Like I was looking at France, and anybody under 12 has to have 12 and over have to have a test within 24 hours of departing to go to France. But then coming back, it's only those that are 10 and over or whatever. It's different ages, different test requirements. It's causing so much confusion, and it's just hitting passenger confidence to book to go anywhere.
And this is the problem, the airlines are trying desperately to find a way back here. And if you've got a situation, I mean, okay, the short haul sector is, not in a good place at the moment anyway, but it is the long haul sectors and in the premium cabins where the airlines are going to start making the money back, isn't it?
Well, that's it. With low cost carriers, it's stack 'em high, sell 'em cheap, fill the seats, they make money. With long haul carriers such as BA, it's all about the premium product and selling that because that's what makes the money. And if you're going to keep having all these issues, because fortunately at the moment Europe is pretty much open to anybody who's vaccinated. We've still got to have tests on when you get back and stuff like that. But the long haul market is just an absolute mess. I really feel for anybody who's working in there because you just don't know what's going to happen next week.
So am I right? I was going to say, am I right in thinking, Nev, that when we go out for our trip in September, that all we've got to worry about is the PCR before we go in the PCR when we come back?
Yeah, we have to do a PCR test 72 hours within 72 hours before we leave, and a day 2 test when we return. Now, I'm hoping that may even be lifted by the time we go, which is the 25th.
I hope so.
November, whatever it is.
I should hope so. I think we're going to see a gradual decline in test requirement. And I think we're going to see actually tests in this country as well start to be charged for if you need them, just so they can slowly get rid of it and try and get back to normality. Because I know a lot of people have died from this virus and it's terrible for everybody who's suffered from it, but we do have to accept that it's here. It's never, ever going away. We've got to start living with it and finding ways to live with it. But right now, it's just chaos.
Yeah, it is.
Note from Stephen Ivy in the chat room says, so basically it's like a traffic light. You never know when it's going to change. I think he's right there. He's nail on the head with that one. So, Andy, you've got the next story, and we're going to your particular style of aircraft for this next one, or aircraft manufacturer.
Yeah, it's a little bit bigger than our fly, but you're right. Yeah, so this is from AINonline.com, and this is Qatar grounds more A350 wide bodies over fuselage issues. Qatar's civil aviation authorities today ordered the immediate grounding of 13 Airbus A350s operated by the flag carrier Qatar Airways. The airline said the decision was made after regular condition monitoring checks revealed that the fuselage surface below the paint is degraded at an accelerated rate. The carrier is moving quickly to bring a number of A330s back into service to replace the larger aircraft. It added that it is evaluating other solutions to restore capacity to the fleet. The airline is working with its regulators to ensure the continued safety of all passengers on this basis, and following the explicit written instruction of its regulator, 13 aircraft have now been grounded, effectively removing them from service until such time as the route course can be established and a satisfactory solution made available to permanently correct the underlying condition. I added all those commas. That paragraph needed commas. Qatar Airways said this on a statement on the 5th of August. In June, the airline said that it had withdrawn an undisclosed number of A350s from service while it resolved what it characterised as an ongoing quality issue with Airbus. At the time, it halted further deliveries, having already received 53 units from a total commitment of 76 aircraft. The operator is the largest customer for the long-range wide-body, which has an all-composite fuselage. With this latest development, we sincerely expect that Airbus treats this matter with the proper attention that it requires, said Qatar Airways Chief Executive Akbar Al-Baker in a further statement. Airbus has declined to comment on the confirmed report that further Qatar Airways A350s have been grounded.
So is this affecting just Qatar Airways, or are we talking about all the A350s?
Well, it seems these guys are the ones who've come forward at the moment, but it's interesting as well that this is, it's an all composite aircraft. It's not made of metal, so it's not a metal fatigue issue. But one thing that really can affect sort of carbon fiber is UV light. That can cause degradation. So I don't know if it's a case of the paintwork hasn't been good enough and that's causing it, because you do get a lot more radiation and UV light higher up in the atmosphere, especially with these aircraft fly up to 41,000 feet. That's quite a difference in atmospheric pressure and thickness.
Yes, as John just said in our ear, there is a lot of sun in the desert. Yeah. So let's go to this next one, story number 4. This one comes to us from skiesmag.com. And one of the biggest air shows, I think, which everyone's been talking about this last few weeks. And Andy, is this one you've been to before, just before we go on the story? Oshkosh? Oh, he's on mute.
There we go. I've never made it to Oshkosh yet. I do intend to go sometime.
I think we should all make a mecca out there at some point in the future.
That'd be good.
So, this is EAA Airventure Oshkosh in review. After a challenging year fraught with lockdowns, isolation and layoffs, the aviation community breathed a sigh of relief when the Experimental Aircraft Association, or EAA, announced it was moving ahead with plans to host its annual flying this year at Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Approximately 608,000 people attended the show, my word, with 16,378 aircraft. Operations in the 10-day period from July the 22nd to the 31st, averaging 116 takeoff and landings in an hour. Mind you, I think even Adam would struggle with that. This is the third time the EAA has had over 600,000 people in attendance, which is great accomplishment considering the lack of international guests. Trying to make up for lost time, thousands of pilots flocked to Whitman Regional Airport days in advance of the event, fueling record high numbers on the Friday and Saturday before the show even started. The atmosphere was electric as old friends embraced to the hum of engines overhead. Pilots from all over North America came together and commiserated over the challenges of 2020 and made resolutions for the year ahead. A new fire was ignited in the hearts of many attendees that replaced a sense of emptiness and loss from 2020. They said that we went into this year's Airventure not knowing how it would look as a big event was possible. The aviation community spoke loudly, although it was ready to come to Oshkosh, and we were happy that we would welcome them, said EAA CEO and Chairman Jack Pelton. He said our theme was "The wait is over," and indeed it was, and the wait was worth it. There was joy and excitement throughout the backgrounds and set the stage for the return of Airventure, making us very excited for the future. Although some exhibitors decided not to attend, it was difficult to notice any difference. The showgrounds were packed with booths, static displays and interactive exhibits. Seminars were firing off one after the other in the pavilions, with dozens in attendance every day, and the crowds were growing larger and larger than the last. A noticeable growth in attendance could be seen at the show centre, where thousands of people set up their seats and awaited the air show that started at 2:30 every day. This year's air show performers included Jeff Boburn in his Yak 110, Kevin Colemaine in his Extra 300 SHP, Patty Wagstaff in her Extra 330 LX, Matt Yoonking in his Twin Beach 18, and the Aeroshell aerobatic team and the F-16 Viper demo team as well, and the Red Bull Air Force and many more. The Goodyear blimp circled overhead as well all week, and even had its own airshow performance where it displayed some unusual attitudes for the crowds below. Now, for those of you who might listen to another great podcast, which I love listening to, I've listened to it for years, the Uncontrolled Airspace, those guys were there, and I was listening to their show this week, and they did comment on the fact there was a huge storm one night during the show, and it was so bad they put out warnings for it apparently, and a lot of the people who were camping there got took into the museum itself to spend the night while the storm was raging outside. So but they still managed a good show, and like I said, it's one of those ones where and it's a long way to go, but at some point, I think, guys, we need to make the trek over there.
I'll tell you what, the what would be nice is there's quite a few people in the chat room, some of whom went to Oshkosh this year. It would be really nice to get some feedback, some audio feedback from them about what they thought of the show and some of the things that they saw. So if you're in the chat room at the moment and you fancy sending us some audio feedback for play out on next week's show, that would be quite nice, because obviously we only get what we see and what we hear on other podcasts and things like that. So it'd be really interesting to hear from some of the folks that were there.
I'm very jealous of them all from being able to be there. I mean, I know obviously we can't go there at the minute anyway, but it looked fantastic. I saw on Flight Radar the departures after the last day. Wow, it gives Heathrow a run for its money on the best of days.
Yes.
Stephen Ivey says that he can send us feedback for a 6-pack. Now, I don't know whether he means a gym session or a beer session.
Some of your beer, I think.
Stephen's selling himself very cheap there. I'd ask for at least 24.
And Richard Adams has said that watch some of the short takeoff landing competition on YouTube. 50-foot takeoffs and 80-foot landings, I think, were achieved, Richard says. So, that sounds good. Yeah, we'll definitely need to we'll pen it in the diary, I think, Nev, for if not next year, we'll try and at least manage the year after. What do you think?
We'll have to get there somehow, won't we? Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. So, Nev, this next story is all with you.
It is. It's on the simpleflying.com website, and it says why EasyJet will leave the pandemic stronger and better. Well, with airlines across Europe taking on new debt and struggling to manage capacity even now, many are wondering what hope there is for strong competitors to come out of COVID. For low-cost EasyJet, it's been a tough 18 months, but its CEO, Johan Lundgren, is convinced his airline will emerge better than ever. Speaking to Simple Flying, he said, in many ways, EasyJet is coming out of this pandemic operationally a stronger and better airline. We've been investing to make the journey even more digitalised and to empower the customer to be in charge more of their reservation and the booking experience. One of the investments made by EasyJet was to turn the process of requesting a refund over to the customers themselves. When COVID hit and flights were cancelled, EasyJet's requests for refunds went from around 20 to 30 per month to hundreds of thousands. The CEO admits that the airline was not prepared for that. Well, with no option to self-serve, customers were left trying to get through to call centres in India or South Africa, which themselves were feeling the effects of COVID. Many had shut down, leaving passengers frustrated that they weren't able to get their money back fast enough. But EasyJet learned from this experience and has put in place the tools it needs to make sure it is prepared should anything like this happen again. Well, over the course of 2020, EasyJet paid out huge sums in refunds, more than £1 billion worth in total. And with the new self-service functionality in place, passengers will find it even easier to be in control of their travel experience going forward. While some carriers pulled services back in the wake of COVID and others threw capacity at every perceived gap in the market, EasyJet's approach sat somewhere in the middle. It only flew where it saw demand, and even now is sticking to flying just those services which will make a positive contribution to its bottom line. With each week that passes, it gets a little easier to travel to, from and within Europe. And the message from EasyJet is clear. Where there is demand, it will fly. And having achieved £500 million worth of cost savings through the pandemic, with around half of those savings sustainable long term, the airline is in a strong position to continue disrupting the European aviation marketplace. Well, that's a good bit of news, Carlos, isn't it? Good to see that at least one of the low-cost operators is feeling fairly bullish about, about the future.
Yeah, actually, Nev, I was looking at some prices just the other day, actually, on their website, and they are, I mean, even with things as they are, I know the airlines are trying to get back as much, get back some of the money they've lost over the last 18 months or whatever. They are still, the flight prices are so really competitive, though, when you look between the two big low-cost carriers here in the UK, Ryanair and EasyJet. They are very much, on a par pretty much with each other, for prices to fly within Europe anyway. So
I booked with EasyJet the other day for a flight in December, and their app has just improved significantly. I could even just one click pay with Apple Pay. It was perfect, which you never used to be able to do before, and the flights were very reasonably priced. It was fantastic. I can't really complain about it. It's one of the better booking experiences I've had this week. Take note, British Airways.
Do you have guys ever go? You've got obviously Skytracker or Skytrax, I think it is the flight search engine kind of thing. Do you ever look at the prices that you can pull up on there as opposed to the prices if you go to direct to the website for the two carriers?
Sometimes. I mean, this was literally a flight from Newcastle to Bristol, and I know it's only EasyJet that does it. So I thought, because like Skytrax and all that stuff have come up with some great cheap routes in the past, but I haven't wanted to go via Amsterdam.
4 stops on the way there.
Yeah. Amsterdam, Berlin, Paris, Bristol. Yeah.
Nice.
See, we've also got Loganair here, which is our local airline as such, flies out of Norwich, but the prices of the flights are just so expensive for us to fly up to Scotland or somewhere like that.
If Loganair got bigger aircraft, I think they could fill them, especially now with the demise of Flybe, and there's a lot of people wanting to travel domestically. If they got bigger aircraft, then they could reduce the price of the tickets.
Yeah, I think one of the things as well, Andy, I think which you'll probably know as well yourself, is the fact that the prices that are charged to the airlines by the airports are. I know that the prices at Norwich Airport are quite high for airlines for fees and stuff, which doesn't help, I suppose, on the ticket price.
No, I tell you where I've been flying to a lot recently from Manchester. It's Newquay.
Ooh, cool.
And that flight has been chock-a-block every time I've done it.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's really, really good.
Are the overhead bins full of surfboards and stuff?
Got no idea. The flight's too short for me to even get out of my seat.
So,
though, the other thing I was going to say was that obviously a lot of the low-cost airlines, it's important for them to try and keep the cash in the company rather than issuing refunds and all the rest of it. But I still think, though, that people, obviously they've had to change their plans considerably, over the last 18 months because of what's happened. I still think most people want to fly and they're quite prepared to push something back. I mean, unless it's for a special event, like a wedding or something. But if it's a general holiday or family visit, a lot of them are prepared to just be offered an alternative date further down the line, from what I'm seeing and hearing, at least, anyway.
I think the airlines as well that actually offer a proper refund and not a voucher, which I believe EasyJet do as well. You can have the voucher or the refund. You get people back because you get your money back, and then they go, all right, you haven't taken that off me and kept it, so I will rebook with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I've always been a big fan of EasyJet, so that's me.
Yeah, they're all right.
So a message from Jenny in Rome in the chat room says, "You're doing a great job, Carlos." Thank you, Jenny. My mum, she says her mum Kay is watching too. Your oldest viewer at 90 years young. So hello to you, Kay. Hope you're enjoying the show. And also Captain Nick is also enjoying us in the chat room. So yeah, we best be on our best behaviour, guys.
You'll expect sarcasm and
expect sarcasm. Exactly, yeah.
As long as we're above 50%, it's fine.
Yes.
Exactly. Well, we manage 101% each week.
Yeah.
So I heard. Anyway, Andy, you've got the next story, and it's a kind of Olympic-based story.
Yes, it is, and this is from the Australian.com.au. It's Australian athletes defend actions on controversial Japan airline flight. Rugby Sevens players have been issued with an official warning and will have to undergo counselling about behaviour and alcohol consumption following an investigation about drunken antics on board a flight returning from the Tokyo Olympics. An internal integrity commission into the behaviour of the men's team on the JAL flight from Tokyo to Sydney last week found a number of members of the team were drinking excessive amounts of alcohol on JAL 15 while also being disruptive to cabin crew and other passengers. But the investigation found no evidence that any JAL property was damaged or mess in seats, aisles or bathrooms was made by the men's Rugby Sevens team. However, in a blow to the Sevens programme, Rugby Australia said the behaviour would have a bearing on the future funding and commitment to the Sevens game. Football Federation Australia, which is undertaking a similar internal investigation for drunken behaviour of the Olyroos on the same flight, has not yet released its findings. JAL has now insisted that the Australian Olympic Committee has a liaison person on board each flight containing Olympic athletes in order to control their behaviour, and has warned that any further misdemeanours will be reported to the police. Is this a story?
I was always under the impression that when athletes and people like that travel on board aircraft, they're model passengers, don't capture anything.
I mean, I guess if you've had a couple of pints after like 3 years of not drinking, it's going to hit you pretty hard, isn't it?
Yes, especially at...
Or actually, to be fair, if you've just won a gold medal for something, then I think you're pretty much entitled to have a beer or two.
But I suppose if they
I
were
forget
being disruptive...
what the calculation is, isn't it? If when you're drinking alcohol at altitude, a single whiskey on the ground is the equivalent of, I don't know, 2.5 or 3. Is that right?
Like that,
at altitude? Yeah. So things can go wrong fairly quickly, I would imagine.
Yeah, and it's a bit, if they have been disruptive to other crew and passengers, that's not okay. But, they should have just kept their celebrations a little bit more subdued.
Yes, I think so.
I'm sure they do on board any flight that you're in charge of, Andy.
Well, as I have read out on many times, especially on the Ibiza flights, when I do my introduction PA, this is an aircraft, not a nightclub.
Do you not wish sometimes, Andy, though, that you were in charge of a flying nightclub?
Absolutely. Oh, my God. I can't imagine anything worse. I think it'll be takeoff. All right, what's happened? Great, we'll divert immediately back.
Of course, this is the other thing is, I mean, I've spoken to so many captains previously that, they need to sort of stay in the cockpit under all circumstances. Obviously, if the aircraft's flying at the time, but the pressure on the cabin crew, but also they are perfectly trained to deal with these folks as well, aren't they? And apart from a stern PA from yourself, or if it's on the ground, you come out of the cockpit and do a PA directly to the passengers. But it must be very challenging for the cabin crew, I think, mustn't it?
Oh yeah, because in flight we can't go out because it could be a ruse to try and get into the flight deck. You never know in this sadly dysfunctional modern world. So we can do PAs to try and calm it down, but the cabin crew are trained much better than we are to deal with these situations. And if it's on the ground, they do appreciate our presence out there. We try not to get too involved, but they just like to see the authority there. And 9 out of 10 times, if you have a word with them on the ground, it normally simmers down pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Or my favourite technique is to just take the ringleader into the flight deck and have a chat and put them in charge and tell them if anything else happens, then you're all off, and normally it quietens down quite quickly.
I was going to say the fines that are charged to people, I think, have gone or grown quite a bit. Actually, I think Nev over the last few years, and the level of fines have gone up. I think.
Well, it's about time, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because they were derisory previously, weren't they? Again, let alone the fact that you're endangering an aircraft and its passengers and crew potentially, then the diversion costs and all the following disruption is massive, isn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely huge, especially with the diversion. That just causes more work, more cost, more money. I do like Richard Adams' comment there though about the Australians. Sir Les Patterson springs to mind possums.
Yes,
that's brilliant.
Oh dear.
So let's move on to the next story number 7 then, and this one it comes to us from Av Harold. And Austrian Airlines Airbus A320-200 returns to Heathrow with gear issues. So an Austrian Airlines A320-300 registration Oscar Echo Lima Bravo X-ray performing flight OS 452 from London Heathrow to Vienna on the 3rd of August was climbing out of Heathrow's runway 09 right when the crew stopped the climb at flight level 070, reporting the nose gear doors had remained open and they had lost nose wheel steering. The crew advised they expected to be able to vacate the runway slowly but could not rule out to become stuck while vacating the runway and requested no other aircraft behind them on approach. The aircraft burned off fuel and landed safely back on runway 09 left around 65 minutes after departure. The aircraft remained on the ground in London for around 3.5 hours, then departed again, maintaining a maximum flight level of 190 and a low speed of around 300 knots over the ground. So some questions for you then, Andy, as you are our resident Airbus pilot on the show this evening. So take us through what would happen on the flight deck in a situation like this.
Well, these guys would have positive climb, brought the gear up, and then got a few pings and bongs, probably stating that the gear wasn't uplocked or something like that. So the QRH checklist, you'd call for that, and initially you'd cycle the gear to see if that would make any difference. It probably will have said as well, if they advised that they'd lost nose wheel steering, then that would have been also a warning, probably on the wheel page to say nose wheel steering, which appears there would have been in amber to say it was unserviceable. So you'd run through the checklist. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, but there's quite a few items to go through. And then come back. It says here they have to burn off fuel, obviously, so they must have been overweight to land back in. And normally, if you're overweight, that's not too much of an issue. Essentially, you've got to try and land it nice and soft so that the engineers don't have to do too many checks. But with a gear issue, you probably want to be under max landing weight just to ensure the integrity of the gear when you land. And I'd probably also plan for the fact that the nose gear might not lock, and therefore, do you remember the Nick will probably remember it, the A340 at Virgin Heathrow when it lost its nose gear, it collapsed. So you have to talk through the crew what you're going to do about that and how you're going to handle it. So really try and just hold off the nose as long as you can. Of course, you do what's called a NITS brief to the cabin crew and let them know exactly what's going to happen. I'd definitely class a gear issue as an emergency landing. So brief them to prepare the cabin for an emergency landing, then burn off the fuel necessary and give it a shot.
When you've landed, if you didn't have any nose wheel steering, is there any rudder control of the nose wheel at all at low speeds?
Yeah, yes, it's limited. If I remember rightly, it's 7 degrees either side. Again, I'd have to check the manuals for that. So you could vacate from a high speed exit from the runway, but you just have to stop straight away. But it looks like in this case, the crew decided just to stop on the runway. Which again, there's no right or wrong answers. I'd probably stop on the runway as well because you don't know what state it's in, and get towed off.
I say, why would I says one of the questions? Why would the aircraft need to fly at a low altitude and low speed back to Vienna?
By the sounds of it, they couldn't get the gear up, so they've decided to leave it down and fly it back. It says across the ground 300 knots over the ground, but the max speed with the landing gear down is 280 knots. So they probably decided after speaking to the company and filling the tanks with fuel, because you could, to Vienna you'd be able to go on full tanks and just fly it back and have maintenance there.
The fuel burn penalty with the gear down is massive, isn't it?
Oh yeah, with the gear down, that is a huge amount of fuel burn.
Just with the nose gear doors, not because obviously the main gear doors, I'm guessing they're on an independent system, are they, or are they on the same system together?
No, they're all on the same system. Was it the main gear doors that hadn't come down?
Nose wheel doors.
Yeah, the nose. Yeah. So the main gear doors have probably come up. So the drag probably wouldn't have been as bad. But I'm guessing going at that level, the engineers may have decided to lock all of the gear down in place. So who knows?
And obviously, would the passengers have noticed? I'm guessing that there would have been a bit of air noise.
Yeah, that would be very, very, very noisy flying back. I will look up while you look at the next thing, I will look up the exact figures for you, because I do have my manuals next to me.
Of course, obviously.
Honestly, that's why we've got you here.
Oh, was it? I'm sure there was
wasn't it? That's right. It was the left.
Oh yes, it was.
Apologies.
Yes, it was a main gear.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nick is correcting Andy in the chat room, but
that's fine. There's the jet blue one, but I don't believe the gear, that was with the nose wheel stuck at 90 degrees, wasn't it?
Yeah, with the cocked 90 degrees, wasn't it? Yeah.
Which was a common problem for a while, but that seems to have been fixed.
So, Nev, you've got a BA story next, and it's good news, I think, for lovers of A380s.
Well, how about this? 4-engined aircraft returning to service.
Yay!
Remember those? About time we had some of those. The good news is that there's some BA A380s and some Lufthansa 747-400s and A340-600s returning. It's on various websites, businesstraveller.com, Lufthansa Technik, Twitter, Airway One, and simpleflying.com. As far as BA is concerned, fans of the A380 will be pleased to hear today's development. Lufthansa Technik tweeted the news that its Manila engineering base will continue to support British Airways' fleet of 12 A380s. The contract has been extended for a minimum of 5 years. So you'll see BA's A380s being flown to the Philippines for maintenance. Dave Exon, who's the technical director of British Airways, commented, "Safety is at the heart of everything we do, and we're delighted to extend our existing A380 base maintenance contract with Lufthansa Technik as a result of the continued excellent standards of service provided by Lufthansa Technik Philippines." CEO of Lufthansa Technik Philippines, Elmer Lutter, added, "We are proud to continue our good relationship with British Airways, and we remain committed to servicing the A380 in the foreseeable future." Now, as far as Lufthansa is concerned, they're planning to resume flights with their 747-400s and the A340-600. After withdrawing its 17 A340-600s in 2020, Lufthansa announced last month it will reactivate 5 of these 4-engine jets from mid-2022 on account of increased premium demand on long-range flights. These will be based in Munich. Lufthansa has today withdrawn another Boeing Boeing 747-400 from long-term storage in the Netherlands, and the move comes ahead of the type's expected reintroduction to service. Lufthansa had committed to bringing 8 of its Dash 400 jumbo jets back to the skies as it patiently waits for the Boeing 777X, with deliveries due to begin in 2023. According to data from chaviation.com, there are just 9 Boeing 747-400 passenger aircraft active in the world, excluding government and VIP jets. 6 of these belong to Russia's Rosair. However, things are set to change, with Lufthansa due to be responsible for 8 aircraft as it ramps up its capacity in line with the aviation industry's recovery. We covered in episode 342 the story of Lufthansa's 747 getting stuck in 20 in the Netherlands, but despite all the headaches, this aircraft, which is Delta Alpha Bravo Victor X-Ray, could leave the airport as it departed on Tuesday at 18 minutes past 2, flying as Lufthansa LH9871 and landing back in Frankfurt just 39 minutes later. So that's good to see some heavy metal back in the sky, isn't it? And I think they've had to do this because of potential delays on newer aircraft, but also hopefully demand being ramped up for the long haul sectors in the premium cabins.
Be nice to have BA's 380s back in the sky again. I do miss seeing them. But they do look blinking good with the BA livery on, Nev.
They do, and I've never been on an A380 in the air. I've been on a couple on the ground, but never actually flown on one yet. So I'm
the great Nev, the great.
They are good, Nev.
Yes,
especially on the top deck. Top deck's lovely, Nev. Just where you're normally sat.
Well, that's where I would expect to be.
Yeah,
certainly. Have you got any update for us, Andy, on figures?
Yeah. So the max speed is 235 knots with the gear down, according to the MEL. And the reason they probably stayed so low is you can't fly in RVSM airspace, which is the higher altitude stuff. So, Right,
so this is where you've got limited spacing between the flight levels, is it?
Yeah, reduced vertical separation minima. And there's a whole host. I've just checked the MEL. It is massive for all the checks you've got to do and bits and pieces like that. So they're probably just playing it safe to try and get on their way as quick as they could.
Gosh.
So there you go. Back up above 50% now, Nick.
Fantastic.
Well done, Andy. We'll get you back again next week. Andy, sticking with you, we've got the next story, which is another good story. This sort of follows in from the guests that we had on a few weeks back.
Yeah, so this is from Reuters. It's titled "Flying Solo, 19-year-old woman aims to set aviation record." A 19-year-old is paving the way for girls in STEM, and for those of you that don't know that, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, by setting the record for the youngest woman to fly solo around the world next month. Belgian-British Zara Rutherford sets off on a 51,000-kilometre, for us who use proper distances, that's 32,000 miles, journey in her bespoke Shark ultralight plane, the world's fastest microlight, on August the 11th. Once complete, Rutherford will be the youngest person to fly a microlight around the world and the youngest woman to fly solo around the world. The current world record for the latter is held by Shasta Weers, who completed the journey aged 30. Rutherford hopes she will pave the way for girls and women in STEM and inspire others to follow in her footsteps. "I wanted to fly around the world, have the girls see me and think I'd love to fly one day too," she told Reuters. "There is a difference in aviation between men and women, so my goal is to bring the records closer and then hopefully inspire other girls to try and beat my record and then go and start competing with the boys." Oh, hang on. Rutherford's parents, Beatrice de Smet and Sam Rutherford, are both pilots themselves, although her mother had mixed feelings when her daughter announced her gap year plans. "When she first told me about it, my heart skipped a beat. It took me a bit of time to digest, and now I'm so proud and fully behind her," she said. The teenager will fund the trip herself with the help of sponsors, and she hopes to complete the journey in around 2 to 3 months. Now, for Carlos and Nev here,
yes,
some shameless plugs.
Shameless plugs, yeah.
Yeah.
So don't forget, if you did miss that a couple of weeks ago, we had our around the world special, flying around the world solo special, with Travis and the current women's world record holder Shyster Ways. She was on the show, and Travis were on the show. They were two great guests. It's definitely a show. If you haven't watched it or listened to it yet, make sure you take yourselves back a couple of weeks and check out the YouTube feed or the audio show as well. Also, don't forget to we're going to plug the new podcast actually, which Shasta's doing as well, Aviate with Shasta, which was launched actually at Oshkosh, the first episode, which is ready, available to listen to as a podcast. I need to add that to my list actually, and also the Women in Aviation special that we did back in March. If you didn't watch that, my word, you need to go back and watch that as well, because that was pretty damn epic. So if you didn't see those, go back and take a look at those. So yeah, good, definitely one to watch there. So yeah, story number 10. Oh, here we go. I've seen my favourite word. So this one comes to us from the timesofmalta.com. Very good paper that is, I buy when I'm on holiday. So this is 21,600 hours, and 4 decades later, Air Malta's chief pilot retires. After a flying career spanning 4 decades and 21,600 flying hours, Air Malta's chief pilot Joe Maniscalco has retired. The airline said Maniscalco was responsible for the airline's flight crew policy and procedure manuals and the day-to-day running of the airline's flight operation support. After operating his last flight, Maniscalco was greeted by Air Malta's executive chairman, David G. Cummey, who was congratulated him on his career. Cummey thanked Maniscalco for his contribution, loyalty and leadership and passion for the airline, and wished him a happy, well-earned retirement. Maniscalco described the pilot's job as rewarding but challenging. He said that each flight is unique with its challenging weather conditions, airports, aircraft, crew and passengers. Throughout my flying career, it always felt good to have a great Air Malta team on board, and this is all thanks to our professional crew. He said that I look back at all these years and find many happy memories that I will treasure. He thanked the management and staff at head office for their assistance during his term as chief pilot, and Maniscalco joined Air Malta back in November in 1979. Wow, that was the year where they had the 707s. As a trainee clerk, 7 years later, he started flight training in Perth, Scotland. This was he was type rated on the 737-200. In July 1990, he also obtained type rating on the A320 in Toulouse, France. At that time, Air Malta was one of the first airlines to start using this fly-by-wire modern aircraft, and a key milestone in his career was when he commanded his first flight in June 1995. He was appointed chief pilot in August 2018. So not a bad career, eh? 21,600 hours, flying hours. How does that compare to you, Andy? You're not far off that one, though?
I'm on about 7,500, so he's had quite a quiet career, really. I've only been doing this 10 years.
Some wag in the chat room has just written, Air Malta's chief pilot retires after being fed up with Carlos visiting the cockpit after 3000. It's reasonable.
I mean, it shows the size of the airline as well and how small it is when it took 16 years to get his command. And that's phenomenal. That's quite a long time. Of course, Air Malta was very small. I'm very jealous that he's got to fly the 737-200 as well. It's one of my favourites, that.
Oh, with the old Pratt & Whitney JT8Ds.
Yeah, proper. Nice glass cockpit
pumping
stuff.
Lovely black smoke from behind as they rocketed away from Lucca Airport. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, definitely. But a nice little story there. I quite like that one. So, well done. And that was a... So, Nev, we've got a video to play out next. So you're going to do a big explanation as to what me and you were up to last weekend.
We were very lucky with the weather. I mean, the queue to go in was horrific. I mean, this was due to some sort of accident that occurred on one of the local main roads near to the air show. So it took us over an hour to get in, and it started to rain quite heavily, and we thought, this is going to be horrific. But just as we arrived and started unpacking the video gear and audio gear, the sun came out, and it remained out for the entire duration that we were there for, which was fantastic. So the air show itself was run on the Saturday and Sunday. We were there on the Saturday afternoon. From lunchtime onwards, and had a really great time. And let's go over to Old Buckenham now to see how we got on.
Well, we've made it after a lengthy journey in to the site today. Nev, we're at our first air show of 2021.
I know. The last air show we did was Dubai, which seems a very long time ago, doesn't it? Yes.
An age ago, yeah.
It was a bit of a chore to get in though, wasn't it, here? Very slow, but we are here, and behind us I can see lots of catering concession stands.
Yeah, Captain Al would love it here. There is a German sausage stand just over there.
Yeah. So that's good. And the whole show's sold out for both days, from what I can tell. And you can't pick up tickets on the door, so you've got to have tickets beforehand. But no, I think it's going to be a great day, actually. The weather's been a bit variable. 1 minute it's chucking it down with rain, the next minute the sun's out. But at the moment, as you can see, the sun is out. So I'm expecting some good stuff. Flying in about an hour and a half's time, something like that. So let's see how we do.
Yes, as Nev said, the sun is shining. It is blue skies, thankfully. It was looking rather rough earlier on this morning. There is a breeze, about a 12 knot breeze I think we've got today. So it's a bit breezy, but there is activity behind us on the airfield. So we're looking forward to some good displays today, and hopefully we'll get some good content for the show. Nev.
Boy, do we need it. Not doing air shows or interviews with folks has been very difficult. Obviously the stuff we've done on Zoom has been brilliant, but it's nothing like going to a real air show, talking to folks, having a chat and seeing the aircraft.
So Nev, I think we need to go and find someone to expose the muff to.
Let's do that. Yes, the muff has not had a good outing for a couple of years now, so I had to give it a good comb before we came out today. So, but no, all is good. I'm looking forward to it.
So there we go. Seething is just across the field from where we are here, not too far away. So hopefully there'll be some guys from there flying in today. I think there's a couple of guys at Seething who are going to be flying in this afternoon in PA28s, from what I heard on social medias. But from us here at Old Buck, the sun's shining. Let's do what we do.
Yep.
Back again at Old Buckenham this year, again our first air show of 2021, and it's nice to be here with the glorious sunshine shining in Norfolk at the moment. I'm here with Ken and Tom, the two commentators from the air show. So I suppose we'll start with you, Ken. What's your background?
Aviation journalism and an aviation historian. I won't plug my new book, but there's one out there.
Fire away, Ken. You can plug all you like.
No. I think we'll stick with the Old Buckenham formula.
Okay. So, Ken, what's your position here at the show then? What do you do?
I'm the commentator on the technical side. Tom here is my backup. That sounds demeaning because we couldn't do it without him. He puts in the flavour of local. I'm Liverpool born and bred, and I now live in the People's Republic of Rutland. So he's busy putting together the local flavour. But I've been doing this show for so many years now that I feel as though I'm an old Buckingham person.
An old Buckingham person?
Yes, old Buckingham person.
Yes. Yeah, I was at OAP. And
very nearly, and so appropriate. And Tom?
Well, I come from a broadcasting background, Carlos. So I first got involved in air shows when I was based in Lowestoft, which of course had a very large air festival for many years. And I was asked as sort of the local guy to go along and stand on the pier in Lowestoft, sometimes in the pouring rain, which was like being fired by bullets. And I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I kept going back and kind of, holding a microphone and doing some of the bits that aren't necessarily the technical bits about, the stuff that's up there, but giving more of a flavour of what was happening. And that brought me to Old Buck, and I've got to say, this has been just amazing over the last few years. There's such a community. People, they come here, they bring their picnic baskets, they bring their little glasses of Pimm's, and it is just a quintessential beautiful day out in Norfolk.
Yes, it is. And to bat on a bit about commentary, commentary is about entertainment. I find some commentators will say, no, it's about information. It isn't. This is entertaining. This is a great day out. We can put some data across to them, but things that they would go, ooh, didn't know. But we're here to enthuse them. And our public, as Tom so rightly says, are with us all the way. They love this event, they love aviation, and this is a fabulous tribute to it.
We'll touch briefly on what's been going on in the world over the last 18 months or so. How hard has it been to put on the whole air show for this season?
For this season, you're starting again. Again, go back to it's like theatre. If you keep the bandwagon rolling, it's easier to do. If you stop, and basically the whole of 2020 was full stop, the world went on to pause. And that means that picking up the momentum, picking up the contacts, everything needs doing again and again and again. And because we're still in a situation where we're not yet in the clear, but we're hopefully on the way out, we have to make sure that things are slightly different here on the day. And of course, we've got the very much nail-biting problem during the year as we go along. Are we going to get to a point where this is possible, or will that timetable be pushed further back and pushed further back? Because there comes a moment where the organisers here have to start spending serious amounts of money irretrievably, and that means that you're really nail-biting. But we're here, and we're celebrating, and that's fantastic.
So we're here today filming for the show. This will be going out over the next few weeks on our live show. Obviously for our listeners and viewers across the... I mean, we have listeners in Australia and America, especially around Europe. We're going to be filming some of the stuff that's here today, but what are some of the biggest parts of this show? What the aircraft which are coming here for this weekend?
Well, I'm going to use my crib sheet because there's so much going on. There are 18 acts from 1 o'clock all the way through to beyond 5 o'clock, and it just keeps going. We open up with the Diamond 9. 9 beautiful tiger moths in close formation, taking us back in time to the 30s. Then we come to Sally B, the iconic Boeing B-17 that has been running now for 40 plus years on everybody's donations. And Ellie Sallingbow, the lady that has run this aeroplane for 46 years along the way, she's here as guest of honour today, and it's going to be very moving. It's one of those things where the hair goes up on the back of your neck. Now, if we go further forward, we've pulled something that we didn't think was possible later on in the day, and that's a Eurofighter Typhoon from 29 Squadron at Coningsby in Lincolnshire. And the best thing that I can say about this is that as a Liverpudlian, I shouldn't be quoting a West Midlands group, but come on, feel the noise. It is going to be amazing, absolutely amazing. 40,000 pounds of thrust from its two engines in reheat. Now, I did some maths the other day, and I might be wrong, but that's the equivalent of 24 Spitfires. This thing moves. One of the services that the airshow is going to do completely free of charge to everybody that's come today is test their car alarms.
I'll make sure. Did I set? I set the alarm. Yeah.
Yeah. If you haven't set it, it will be set.
So for you, Ken, what stands out for you on this show? I mean, I know you can't pick a favourite, but what for you is the one that you're really looking forward to?
Well, we were discussing it earlier with the audience, and it's Chris Burkett and the extra and the model. Tom, you're as enthused about that as I am.
Well, they kind of call it little and large, or sort of half an aircraft, but how do you put an extra in the skies being flown out there whilst also have a mini version being flown from down here on the old controls? That sounds a bit crazy. When you see how they weave together, how they almost, from our standing point here, you kind of start, well, which is which? You know, which is the half-size version and which is the full-size version? It starts to kind of get very confusing and blend in together. But just the way that they can communicate in that way is absolutely stunning. It's a seamless act, and as I say, when I saw it the first time, I just thought whoever thought of that had certainly had a few pints to drink earlier that evening, I'm sure.
I could actually add to this, because it was my honour to do the first commentary on it when the two of them got together. And I actually said, you must have been well sauced up when this happened. And the two of them looked at me and said, well, yes, of course.
Yeah. Yes,
and
right.
It is the combination of guessing. Chris, when he's flying the thing, isn't looking for the model. That's been controlled from the ground and followed through in every way. And if you've not seen it, you'll talk, the minute you see it, you will talk about it for many, many months because it's exceptional, absolutely exceptional.
So for our US listeners, obviously they've just come off the back of Oshkosh over in the States. They've had one of the biggest air shows there. But for us here in the UK, we're limited to what we can do in a lot of areas. But you guys here have got a fantastic site for the air show, and obviously the weather's good as well. But kind of how much further? I mean, how much further could you go with aircraft wise? Could you have bigger aircraft in here, or are you limited obviously to the runway?
Yeah, runway length. It means that we can't get much more than the aeroplanes you see in our background now down. But the sky is the limit above us, and the Typhoon is the most. I think the phrase is the most kinetic item we have ever had, and we're very, very pleased at the Royal Air Force for allowing that to happen. And Sainty, the man who's flying it, is an exceptional character, and it is really we're well pleased with that. Tom and I will spend a lot of time in the break before it comes on explaining to people that you think you've heard noise. This is well noisy, and one of the ways we're going to get that across is that all Royal Air Force aeroplanes have call signs, and they delight in putting a sort of specific call sign together. The Royal Air Force display Eurofighter Typhoon for 2021's call sign is Anarchy, and I think that sums it up.
So you guys obviously commentate here at the show. We've heard you today together commentating on the microphone. You seem to get on very well together. You work very well as a team.
I suppose there's like a kind of you do or you don't, really. I mean, we don't sort of see each other outside of turning up on the 2-day event, but we've always managed to get into the groove pretty immediately. I think that was fair to say. We kind of got that from the first time we worked together, and it works. I know very little about this stuff. I'm the guy that maybe translates a bit of it back to some of our audience members who come for a nice day out. Ken, who is an encyclopedia of everything, but can also really bring it to life, brings that those two dimensions work really well together. So I think we get on all right, don't we?
We do, and I mean this, Tom. All of my 30 plus years of commentating, I'm a solo act. I am more than happy to double up with you, and I mean that as a sincere thank you.
Very nice of you.
We're going to wrap up, but thanks again for your time today, guys. I know you've got a busy day ahead of you and tomorrow, but we're going to ask you a question each, and it's a question we ask all our pilots and people within the industry that we interview on the show. One question. So we'll go with you, Tom, because you said you're not the kind of the technical guy here, but you have got some knowledge, I reckon. But given the chance to jump in an aircraft now, any aircraft, be it commercial, military, GA, retired, still flying in service, what would you love to jump into?
Flying Fortress. I think the history, I think the romance, I think the fact that it is flown or owned and operated by Ellie, who has such an amazing story. Ken talked about the hair standing up on the back of your neck. That for me every time.
And the same to you, Ken.
Well, I'm going all the way down. I'm going to a 90 horsepower aeroplane that you'll see this afternoon, and that's a Piper L4, a Cub, a spotter for the guns, and it's doing a shoot down with a Fieseler Storch here this afternoon, the last shoot down in Europe of World War II. But it's such a small aeroplane, but had such a huge impact on the run through to liberate Europe, spotting for the guns, unarmed and in harm's way and unafraid. And if the spinning thing on the front stops, it will land on a postage stamp. And I would love to do that. And the one over there, built in 1944, is a genuine wartime veteran. That's nice. Same with Sally B. It's the way to go.
Wow. So Ken and Tom, thank you very much for your time today. As I said, we know you're busy, but you've got a great show ahead of you. So we wish you all the best from all the team at the show.
Thank you for bringing the sunshine, Carlos.
Yeah.
Stick around, because since we've been talking, it's got brighter.
You are good for us.
Oh, brilliant. we brought it from Dubai a few years ago. Don't panic.
Don't
It's
send
fine.
it back.
Well, all the best, guys. Have a great show, and enjoy yourselves today. Thank you.
Best.
Cheers, Carlos.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you.
Well, welcome to our London studios. Welcome to the A320 Lounge webinar tech presentation, obviously for the 320 series.
Welcome to the A320 and 737 Lounge, bringing technical refresher courses directly to you. Using our cutting-edge broadcasting facilities, enjoy a fully interactive technical refresher course from the comfort of your own home. All of our webinars are live and you can ask your instructor a question at any point during the day. All of our instructors are highly experienced and can help you. No more expensive nights away from home, no new software required, just an internet connection. Courses are run at regular intervals, so check out A320 Lounge and 737lounge.com for more details.
So I hope you all liked our footage there from Old Buck. I know me and Nev had a fantastic time doing that day. And what was some of the highlights for you, Nev, apart from the sausage and chips we had for dinner?
The sausage and chips was top draw, but it was a bit of a queue, wasn't it, to wait for it, 45 minutes or so. But no, it was great. And actually, I thought that Diamond 9... what they kicked off with was very good. I'll tell you one thing, because it's very difficult to follow these aircraft with their video camera the size that I have, and it's a bit awkward. So my suggestion is, if you want to see some of these excellent close-up shots that Carlos got of most of the air show, go to the Plane Talking UK Facebook page, because there's some really great stuff that he's put up on there. There's over 160 photos, and the definition that you've got out of them with that long lens of yours is phenomenal, Carlos. So thanks very much for doing all that, because it really gives a good flavour of some of the stuff that was there.
Yeah, there's a couple of shots which I'm really glad I got. Actually, one of the ones I'm really proud I got was the little and large display team, the extra, the little baby extra, and the full size extra that were doing a display. I got one of the shot of those two passing each other in the sky, which came out really well. And obviously the Sally B as well. You know, when you see that aircraft flying in, and because me and Nev had the heads up on that, because I had my scanner with me, so we actually had the frequency for the display frequency for the B-17, so we knew that was coming in from Duxford to do the fly past. And actually, Nev, they did do. I mean, they must have done probably about 7 or 8 fly pasts of the show.
Oh, they did, yeah, absolutely. No, it was good, and thank goodness that the weather held off as well. I mean, I think the Sunday was a bit of a different story, but when we went from Saturday lunchtime onwards, or about 11 o'clock onwards, it was all right, wasn't it? So, and the cloud base behaved itself too, so it meant they could do a full display.
Did you two do a rain dance? Is that what it was? Or anti-rain dance to get rid of it?
No, we didn't. But it's one of those days, in fact, a bit like today, where it was raining 1 minute, sunshine the next, cloudy 1 minute, then beautiful blue skies. It was just one of those days. It could not make up its mind. By the time we started filming that piece, it had all cleared up, I'm pleased to say.
Actually, Steve and Ivy in the chat room was asking, did we get any footage of the Eurofighter Typhoon? And to answer that, Stephen, we got there reasonably early, and it took me and Nev just over an hour to get on to the site to park to get into the site. And there was, I think, was it right, Nev? There was probably, I'd say, must have been a good couple of thousand, probably more people there. On the
I
Saturday.
think they were limited on capacity, weren't they? And there was no tickets available on the door, so you had to pre-book it all in advance. But there's a good 2,500, I would have said.
So basically, we decided midway through the day that we were going to look to see what the flying display timings were, and the Typhoon was coming in on the last part of the show, and we decided that we would leave before then, because it would have probably taken us a lot longer than 1 hour just to get out of the site. And because the actual, for those of you who probably not aware of Old Buckenham in Norfolk, it's in the rural countryside in Norfolk, and it's quite I say difficult to get to,
isn't it?
Countryside lanes.
I was a bit surprised about how many country lanes we went through in your transit. I mean, I don't think we went on a single main road, did we?
That's a Norfolk motorway.
That's right. That's true, isn't it? Yes.
Nothing wrong with the roads around here, after they filled the potholes in anyway. Ooh. So I suppose we're going to have to go with some military aviation news, I think, don't we, tonight, gents?
Yes, we ought to.
So if everyone's ready, I'm fighting against our producer John here, who's clicking on things here. If everyone's ready, let's go with some military aviation news. So our first story from the military segment this week comes to us from Flight Global, and this story is hold on, let me just get the camera back here. Honestly, there we go. This story is all about the RAAF concluding 30 years of operations with its Sentry fleet. So the UK Royal Air Force has ended 30 years of operational use with its Boeing E-3 Sentry airborne warning and control system aircraft, having flown its last frontline sortie with the type in the Middle East on the 30th of July. Conducted from RAF Akrotiri in Cyprus, the final operational mission was flown in support of Operation Shader, the UK's contribution to coalition activities to counter Daesh militants in Iraq and Syria. 2 E-3Ds have been flown to Cyprus to support the UK Royal Navy's Carrier Strike Group 21 deployment, led by the aircraft carrier HMS Queen Elizabeth, completing 30 missions over a 9-week period, the Royal Air Force said. The Sentry was able to provide the recognised air and surface picture to the Carrier Strike Group to facilitate its safe transit from the Straits of Gibraltar to the Suez, says Wing Commander Victoria Williams, officer commanding the Royal Air Force Sentry-equipped 8th Squadron. The pair of surveillance aircraft returned to RAF Waddington in Lincolnshire on the 2nd and 4th of August, respectively, and the type will be formally retired from use later this year, the service says. It originally operated a 7-strong fleet of CFM International CFM 56 engines, E-3Ds, with serum data showing just 3 as still active. The Sentry's duties will from 2023 be assumed by 3 Boeing 737-based E-3A Wedgetail airborne warning system and control aircraft. These are going to be based at RAF Lossiemouth in Scotland. And John, honestly, you're a nightmare. During this period of capability, it wouldn't be the same without Armando not being here. Come on. Intelligence, surveillance, targeting and reconnaissance requirements will be covered by a combination of other aircraft and E-3s from the NATO partners, the RAF said. One of the service surplus E-3Ds has been acquired by the US Navy for $15 million, while the UK's Defence Equipment Sales Authority in December 2020 began search for buyers for the 2 non-operational airframes offered for scrappage. I wonder if we can get one of those. That'd be nice.
$15 million is not that much, really.
It isn't actually, no, considering.
It would be nice to see these keep flying. I do like them because these are derived from the 707.
707, yeah.
Yeah, and I think they're beautiful aircraft. I think NATO are still operating some with the proper JT-3Ds as well. The big, smoky,
the coal burners,
noisy, dirty, horrible things. But they've got a place in my heart. They're beautiful, beautiful aircraft. It's a shame to see these go.
Yes, we have the tankers, the KC-135s flying over here quite a bit actually. Where me and Matt live here, and they're quite often flying over here. Quite low level actually. Sometimes.
Do they kind of Mildenhall?
Mildenhall.
Yeah, Mildenhall. Yeah, Nev, which is not far from Sturman, who's in the chat room actually. Gareth in the chat room. He's a stone's throw away from them. When I'm over his way, they're on the final for approach into Mildenhall, and they're quite low at the time. But
used to love seeing them. I used to when I lived down south. I used to drive over to the depths of East Anglia just to go over to those air bases and watch them from the back of that flatbed at St John's Field. John's Field. That's brilliant to go there and watch them do their circuits and bash it in.
Didn't realise you were a military aviation spotter as well, Andy.
I'll spot anything.
Okay. So Nev, moving on before we find out anything more about Andy we didn't know, on to the next story about the C-27 J.
We'll save that for the after show.
Yeah, that's right, yes. Definitely. This is on the aviationist.com, and it says the RAAF redefines the role of the C-27J Spartan for humanitarian disaster relief. The Australian Department of Defence announced that the role of the Royal Australian Air Force C-27G Spartan is being redefined to enhance department support for humanitarian disaster relief, crisis response and regional engagements, allowing the country to better respond to natural disasters in Australia and its near regional engagement across the Indo-Pacific and the Australian Defence Forces military logistics and air mobility capability. The chief of the RAAF, Air Marshal Mel Hupfield, said that the Spartan's capabilities were aligned with the Defence's strategic objectives to shape Australia's strategic environment, deter actions against the nation's interests, and, when required, respond with credible military force. The RAAF has been working for some years to introduce new capabilities on the C-27J, like the compact rescue systems for search and rescue missions, and already use the cargo aircraft during emergency scenarios like the bushfire crisis. Spartan demonstrated its specific capabilities during the 2019 and 20 Australian bushfire crisis by safely evacuating 2,400 fire-affected community members and resupplying remote communities that were inaccessible by larger aircraft, which included moving over 300,000 kilograms of cargo, Air Marshal Hupfield said. The Spartan conducted these missions at a range that exceeded the ability of defence helicopters because of its flexibility and the inherent operational characteristics of a light tactical fixed wing aircraft. Needless to say, that humanitarian disaster relief support role of the RAAF's C-27J is just one of the missions that the Spartan can carry out. Its mission flexibility is proved by the wide variety of missions the aircraft conduct flying with several operators all around the world. Today, Leonardo's C-27J Spartan is considered one of the most effective multi-mission airlifters of its category, and the only one specifically designed to support the last mile operations with significant combat experience. Sorry for hitting the microphone at the end there.
I've seen a lot of these in Pisa. The Italians have got quite a few of them based there. And they're interesting. I mean, they're very capable aircraft, but I've just looked it up. They've only ever been 87 built.
Is that right? Interesting.
Yeah. It first flew in 1999.
It's unusual, isn't it? Well, I say it's unusual. There's more and more of these aircraft that are being redeployed for different usages from what they were originally designed for.
Yeah. Yeah, they do sort of look like the Qatar aircraft, or just a very, very stumpy. They've got a wing like a Dash 8 and engines like a Dash 8 and just a stumpier version of a C-130.
So Nev, actually no, Andy, you've got the next story, haven't you, about what's this one? The Tempest concept. Yeah,
the Tempest concept. Some of the Aviationist. God, that's a mouthful. So this says grey, light grey, darker grey. Oh, no, I'm reading the wrong bit. The United Kingdom signs contract to formally start Tempest's concept and assessment phase. With this new contract, the Tempest program will now progress to the next phase that will shape the final design and capabilities of the 6th gen aircraft. The British Ministry of Defence awarded BAE Systems a contract worth $250 million to formally begin the concept and assessment phase of the Tempest 6th generation aircraft program, part of the Future Combat Air System, the FCAS. This contract is just the initial part of a bigger £2 billion investment in the United Kingdom government as planned over the next 4 years in the recent Defence Command paper. This next phase of the Tempest program will see investment in both digital and physical infrastructure on which the system will be developed. Giving priority to the digital aspect as simulated design and testing can significantly reduce costs, time, and emissions. The industry partners of Team Tempest will develop this weigh a range of digital concepts, embedding new tools and techniques to design, evaluate, and shape the final design and capability requirements of the Tempest. Today marks a momentous step in the next phase of our future combat air system, with a multi-million-pound investment that draws on the knowledge and skills of our UK industry experts. Boosting our already world-leading air industry, the contract will sustain thousands of jobs across the UK and will ensure that the UK remains at the top of the table when it comes to combat air, said Ben Wallace, UK Secretary of State for Defence, when he announced the contract during a visit to BAE Systems' Wharton site. Leonardo also welcomed the news about the contract, which underlines the UK government's confidence in the progress and maturity of the Tempest programme. In 2018, the 4 UK industry partners came together with the MOD to form Team Tempest, embarking on an exciting and ambitious national project to deliver the next generation of combat air, said Norman Bourne, Chair and Managing Director of Leonardo UK. Since then, we have made great strides towards that goal, with new technologies developed and demonstrated, and transformational new ways of working established across a digital enterprise. Italy and Sweden have joined as international partners, reinforcing the project and establishing FCAS as a major international endeavour. Today, the UK's commitment has been reaffirmed, and I'm delighted that Leonardo will remain at the core of the programme as we transition to the FCAS concept and assessment phase. According to the Royal Air Force's press release, the concept and assessment phase will define and begin to design the future combat system, mature technologies across the system, invest in skilled workforce that will work on the project, secure digital and physical infrastructure and tools that underpin cutting-edge digital engineering, data and software-based systems, and finally, enable major program choices by 2024. What this doesn't state here is what the concept of Tempest actually is. It's a bit like it's the replacement for Eurofighter, isn't it? It's the next stage fighter.
Yeah.
Next gen.
So apparently, according to the BAE Systems website, apparently the Tempest is going to be able to fly unmanned and use swarming technology to control drones. And it will also incorporate artificial intelligence, deep learning, and possess directed energy weapons.
Okay.
So, which is
it is a scary concept that you can fly these quite sizable bits of kit at very fast speeds, dropping stuff on people with nobody in them.
Yes, it's well, it's going to be the way things are going to be going, isn't it? That's the thing.
I mean, it sounds very space age. On their website, it says here that the Tempest will feature an adaptive cycle engine and a virtual cockpit shown on a pilot's helmet-mounted display.
I mean, it says it's planned for 2035, but let's be honest, these things are always very not optimistic. Yeah, very optimistic. In their
it's coming up to 2035 now in about a minute and a half. So
you're right. So I don't know. Will we see it in 2035? Who knows?
We'll see. We'll let's be one of those ones. One of those ones like the the flying cars and stuff, or the all these electric things and bits and pieces. They'll say they'll be flying next year, but that'll be years before they do fly. We'll see.
Yeah.
So there we go. There's the military news. Hopefully, Armando will be back with us next week to bring us some more of Nev's favourite stories from the military. But there was some comments in the chat room, actually, Andy, saying that apparently that you should be our new joint military expert host with Armando.
Yeah, I saw that, and that was from Nev. So no,
I didn't mean to do that.
There was a lot of words in there as well.
But you absolutely done an awesome job of that. So well done, Andy.
Thanks, mate. Thanks.
Yeah. So that's it for the military news segment of the show. As some of you might have noticed this week, due to operational issues, I didn't get the chance to put our caption this on Wednesday on our Facebook page, but it will be back next week. So make sure you check out our Facebook page next Wednesday for our caption this just for fun on the show. We'll read out on next Friday's show. So that'll be Wednesday. I'll get that picture up. I've got it on the phone here, ready to put on the Facebook page. So it will be a good comical picture for you to comment on the show. So we're going to start to wrap things up then, guys. But we'll have a quick chat with you, Andy, while we've got you on and stuff. Obviously, no, don't panic. So I just wonder sort of how things are with you, obviously with flying and stuff. Obviously, with the way things are you still getting plenty of flights and stuff in, or are you kind of sitting waiting?
Yeah. So at the moment, in my airline, we avoided all redundancies by everybody going part time. Sort of a bit like communism, really helping each other out, and everybody did their bit, which was great, and more than happy to do it. So now I only work 9 days a month, which is brilliant. Love it. Get to spend a lot of time at home with my wife and daughter, which is just perfect because I have to commute for work as well. But between January and May, I did one flight, and now it is ramping up again now. And the flights that I am doing are very full. So it's a good sign of recovery. And we're hoping that the winter schedule is going to be a lot busier as sort of restrictions continue to disappear. So yeah, I'm quite happy at the moment. It's nice. The threat of redundancy is long gone now, and it's all about the recovery.
Do you think people are getting used
to
now?
Some of those flights coming, the Swiss ones and the skiing ones for the winter, but also those summer sun ones to the Canary Islands as well, wouldn't it? Be good to see some of those coming back later in the year.
That's it, and that's where my airline's focused at the moment. It's all about Canaries for the winter, even down to sort of Cape Verde, places like that. And of course, the ski flights are always normally big business, so we're really hoping that they come back. And of course, a lot of the, like Austria, go on the green list. Germany, France is just amber at the moment. That's all the area that we want to get people into for the skiing in the winter. So fingers crossed it keeps going in the right direction.
Have you had a chance on the old Neo yet, Andy?
Oh, yeah. I've been flying the Neo for a long time. It's a great aeroplane. Its only downside is if it's warm, it takes forever to start.
Why is that?
Because you have to debore the core of the engine. Now, did you ever watch the old ITVV Concorde program?
Yes,
I'm sure you all have,
did.
because you're all av geeks.
Yes.
Now, they always had to run the engines for a certain period to cool them down and let the core of the engine or the shaft debore before they put the fuel in. And when the engine's cool on the first flight of the day, it starts up really quick. But of course, when it's warm and the temperature's around 300 degrees in the core, because our turnarounds are short, you've got to spin the engine up for a long time to let it cool and all the temperature dissipate. So it normally takes around 2 minutes to start each engine.
Wow.
So that you'd like running it deliberately at a lower N1 value before you introduce the fuel, is that?
Yeah, so you just take the APU air, the normal start air, and just turn it over until the fare deck. And again, there's no set temperature for it. The fare deck just decides, right, this is a good point now. Let's chuck the fuel in and light it up. So it varies. Each engine on every flight, it just varies the time it takes to light up. Because a CFM56, you can guarantee you get a light up in 45 seconds. And you could time it every time and it would work. But it's very different on the Neo. But that's the only downside. I mean, they're amazing and they are so powerful. You can climb straight up. Even with a good load, you can get up to cruising straight away. Whereas with the CFM56 and the IAE, even worse, you have to take an intermediate level before you can climb up higher once you've burnt off a bit of fuel.
This will be useful, obviously, for shorter runways at high altitudes as well, I would imagine, in terms of payload.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, literally, it sounds like a 777. It sounds like a GE90 when you're taking off. It's the first time I flew it, because as a pilot, you get used to the sounds of the environment and what you're flying. And when you first punch the levers forward, it's like, that is not a sound that I'm used to. No. And it takes a little bit of a customization, but once you get there, it's nice. It's lovely. It's a great aeroplane to fly.
Have you noticed, Andy, with the Neo, the fuel burn is less than the 320s?
Oh, yeah. You can see it on the fuel flow. On the engine instruments, it's significantly less. And looking at the flight plans as well, I remember originally I was planned on one flight on a Neo, and the flight plan, say it was 3 tons. I can't remember where we're going exactly. And then they went, oh, no, we need to swap you onto another aircraft. And it was one of the CEOs, as they call them, or CFM56. And that flight plan was like 600 kilos more of fuel.
Wow.
It's a massive difference. So that really, really helps the airline out. And, of course, the environment as well, in cost saving and looking after the planet.
And I suppose passengers as well. I suppose they prefer the quiet. I take it it's quieter for not just for the passengers but for you guys as well on the flight deck.
Yeah, it's a much quieter aircraft. But the engines are so big. I mean, the majority of the thrust anyway comes from the front fan. And when you look down a Neo engine, all you can just see is space around it in this really small core.
It's very interesting. We should definitely we should just tell you, let's do a 320 special. An A320 special.
Yes.
Yeah, we could
Yeah,
do,
you've streamed past that number now, though.
Oh, yeah, we haven't we? Yeah. Yeah. Well, guys, so we start to wrap up. Nev, social media bits and pieces.
Yes, we like a bit of that. So you can search for Plain Talking UK on Facebook, Twitter or Instagram. You can drop us a line, pictures or whatever you like at our WhatsApp number, which is +44 757 22 49166. That's +44 757 22 49166. You can email the show, podcast@plaintalkinguk.com, and our website is www.plaintalkinguk.com. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. You'll get notifications when we go live, and you can help shape the conversation of the show by joining us in the chat room, as many people have done today. You can go to youtube.com, search for Plain Talking UK, and you'll find us there. You can also, if you're a Amazon customer, you can buy your products through our website by clicking on the Amazon link. We get a small referral fee for that, and that's very good. You can also become a Patreon as well, which is fantastic. So all those things you can contact us by. Andy, do you have any social media that people can contact you on at all?
Me? You can find me on Twitter. I don't even know what
on Twitter sometimes, don't we?
I don't even know what my handle is. You know.
There you go.
Hang on, one second. Well, I'll tell you what. It's Andrew A. Wilson 4. There you go. At Andrew A. Wilson 4. If you want to ask me anything, feel free to drop me a message on there, and I'll try the best I can to answer it. For you.
I've got a question for you, Andy.
Oh yeah.
How's the bar going?
What, the pub in the garden?
The pub in the garden.
Yeah, it's beautiful. In fact, I've sent you pictures.
Yes, you
to
have.
your WhatsApp, and you've never put them up on the show. I can't believe it.
Oh.
It's nearly finished.
Well, I tell you what, you won't get them on here tonight. Not without Matt here. But I
did intend to broadcast from there tonight, but I had internet issues down there. So next time I'll be broadcasting from the Garden House Inn, is what it's called.
And hopefully, in the not too distant future, there'll be certain pieces of aircraft potentially hanging from the walls of your pub.
Potentially, yes.
Is that with or without the wife knowing?
And also, oh no, she's fine with it. Literally, I've got my office and I've got the pub. I can do whatever I want in there, put whatever I want on the wall. The rest of the house, well, I need to ask permission for elsewhere.
Stephen Ivy's in the chat room saying, Andy has a pub?
Yes, it's at the bottom of my garden. In fact, one day I will have Nev, Carlos, and Matt in there, and we'll broadcast from
do the
there.
show from your pub.
Yes. Oh, that is definitely on the card. We're so good.
Yeah.
Good.
It will. Yes, I want a big satellite dish at the end of the street. I want the lot.
Yeah, we can bring the whole lot.
Nev Tech Broadcasts Limited.
Yeah. Perfect.
Oh, blimey. I look forward to that. So that is where we're going to bring episode 378 to a close. So big thanks to you, Andy, for joining us this evening. It's been great to have you back on. Don't leave it too long next time. We'll have you get back on again soon. So
absolute pleasure. I enjoy being on the subs bench. It's my pleasure to be here.
And a big thanks as well to Nev as well for tonight. Well done, Nev. Thank you for joining us as well. And also a big thanks, not forgetting John, who's done a shed ton of work behind the scenes for the show tonight. And we managed to get on air without Matt. It's amazing. Honestly, I never thought we'd actually get on air without Matt, to be fair.
Yeah, hang on, Carlos. Matt had to come in twice to sort things out for you. So, you know.
Yeah, he did. I'm going to hold my hands up. Matt did have to come back and press a few buttons and do some bits and pieces. So big thanks to Matt for that as well. Honestly, you can see us. It's just how things go when Matt's not in the studio. It's a nightmare. But I think we'll leave Nev to lead us out of tonight's show so I can press all the right buttons, hopefully. So, Nev, over to you.
Yeah, thanks very much indeed, Carlos. Well, a great show again. Thanks ever so much indeed, Andy, for coming on the show. Absolutely superb. I shall be doing some flying on Monday, which is a nice change. So I'm off to Dublin for a few days and for work. So that's really good to do that. Nice to see how many people are on the flight as well. But in the meantime, thanks very much indeed to everyone for watching and listening. And we'll be back at the same time next week.
Bye everyone.